Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It is I, CR Daredevil, with another episode of Impact Upon Us. We are at the Reese Court in Washington with 4,935 people in attendance for the show. We are going to have continuations in all of our stories, as well as the Bound for Glory series happening as we are on the road to Hard Justice. And we'll have to see how everything plays out. We're going to dive right into it this week, though. We open up with a Kurt Angle promo. Opening promo here on Impact, 2 straight weeks with Kurt opening up the show. Says that last week it was good to be back in the ring again, competing once again in the ring, and he was able to defeat MVP, kind of shutting his mouth once and for all here. And so now he's looking for Benjamin. He's looking for Shelton Benjamin. And speaking of the devil, here comes Shelton Benjamin out, but he's not alone, as he has MVP with him. Benjamin says that he will face Kurt when he deems the time to be right, not when Kurt thinks that the time is right. And so he says that he will face Kurt at Bound for Glory. So officially, we have our first matchup for Bound for Glory. I mean, technically, we already have 2 matches. We got the Knockouts champion taking on the winner of the Women's Bound for Glory series, and then the TNA World Champion taking on the winner of the Men's Bound for Glory series. But this is our first officially, like, we know who's in the match for Bound for Glory, as it's going to be Kurt Angle versus Shelton Benjamin at Bound for Glory, which is in 2 months' time. And Kurt's like, well, why do you got to wait 2 months for it? Like, why can't we do this? Why can't we do this tonight? And Benjamin's like, I choose when I fight. And I do want to fight tonight, but I don't want to fight you tonight, Kurt, because I'm going to make sure that you are supposedly at 100%. I don't want you a week after just returning in the ring to face me. I don't want you a few weeks or a month after you just returned. I want you back to full fighting fit. So that way when I beat you at Bound for Glory, it will be truly glorious for Shelton Benjamin. And Kurt Angle says, well, if you don't want to fight me tonight, then how about you fight a good friend of mine here in TNA? Someone who you have tangled with in TNA before, or tangled with in TNA before. And Benjamin and Evie kind of look at each other, kind of confused by that. And Kurt Angle's like, I got a good friend backstage. I'll talk to him. You can face him in the main event here tonight. So we're not sure who Kurt's talking about, as everybody's going to kind of go over who Shelton Benjamin has faced in the past here in TNA, and then try to figure out who would be a friend of Kurt's out of those people. 74 rating for this match, or for this segment, I mean, gains heat for the storyline, as is a hot story for us right now. All 3 of them doing well, improvising. MVP didn't really say much in this. It was more of his actions. But yeah, all 3 of them do really well. Strong start for the show here. It's clear that having Kurt Angle back is a very good thing for us so far. Then we see an opening contest in the Bound for Glory series that sees Austin Aries defeat Eric Young by pinfall with a brainbuster in 9.5 minutes. Eric Young, or Austin Aries, that is, sorry, getting himself 3 points with that victory. Good stuff there, as it gets a 66 to open up the wrestling portion of the show. So very hot. We're getting really good matches in the Bound for Glory series now heading forward. Some of our better Knockouts division matches have been in the Bound for Glory series, as has our men's matches here. So I'm glad to see that. Really good to see that for sure. After that, Roderick Strong has a promo. Of course, remember, he is the number 1 contender for the X Division Championship, despite the fact that I didn't really bring it up last week. He has a promo where he talks about being the number 1 contender for the X Division Championship. He says that he is waiting to see when Daredevil and Maria end up booking that match, but when it happens, he will have no problem taking the title away from Kazarian. And speaking of Kazarian, he shows up, and he says, he just kind of claps, slow claps, and says, Roderick Strong, you honestly think for a second that you were going to be able to take this championship away from me? I'm Freaky Kazarian. I'm a 6-time champion. I'm one of the pioneers of the X Division. Forget all those other guys you think are pioneers. I'm the real pioneer of the X Division. And if you honestly think for a second you're going to be able to take that title away from me, you are madly mistaken. And this brings in another slow clapper as Paul London appears in frame. And London says that it's, that Kazarian may claim that he's, unstoppable, unbeatable, all that stuff. But Paul London would like a rematch for his X Division championship. He says that he did lose, he will admit that, but that he knows he can beat Kazarian in a rematch. So he's asking for that to happen, and Strong's just like, well, I'm the number one contender right now. And London's like, well, we can go have a triple threat match. And Kazarian's like, whoa, no. As the actual champion here of the three of us, I get to pick and choose when this stuff happens. I will face you when I decide to face you. And he walks off. And so Strong and London kind of have a little bit of a interaction with each other. Gets 51 rating for this, as we kind of advance that storyline. Lose T for it, but still, it's not bad. We advance that storyline regardless. Then after that, okay. In a poor matchup, I have to point something out this week, and it's gonna slightly spoil something. It's slightly spoil stuff that happened on Explosion. This week is submission goddamn central in the Bound for Glory series. You'll see what I mean when we get to that point. In a poor matchup, Velvet Sky defeats Candice LeRae in 8:43 by submission. 53 rating for the match. Velvet Sky picking herself up 5 points in the Bound for Glory series. So we'll have to see where things go with that. 52 rating from Velvet Sky, 34 from Candice LeRae. Velvet Sky's looking very stale, so I'm going to have to kind of change up her gimmick a little bit, tweak her gimmick a little bit if it can be tweaked after the show. But good 53 rated matchup here as Velvet Sky gets the victory. We'll have to kind of see where things go. I mean, getting 5 points is obviously a really good thing because that could potentially get her tied with or in the lead, depending on how Mickie James's match went on Explosion. That's right, Mickie James was wrestling on Explosion this week. And we didn't even do a promo with Daredevil Maria this week either. So that would have been a big deal for Mickie James to be wrestling on Explosion, because also tonight, Magnus is going one-on-one with his Team Dixie partner in EC3. So a big night of quote-unquote disrespect for Team Dixie, as we'll have to see how they end up feeling about that. But we're not going to find out this week because there is no promo this week regarding that recent interaction stuff. Nevertheless, we move on from this match to D'Angelo Dinero. Gets 59, not great, but that's fine. He cuts promo, hyping up his upcoming match with AJ Styles. It has been made official that it will be Styles and Dinero for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Hard Justice. Styles kind of demanded the match. Well, not demanded it, but he kind of he told Daredevil that he wanted that match to happen, so it's going to be happening at Hard Justice. And Dinero says that he has been waiting for an opportunity like this for a long time now to be able to claim the TNA World's Heavyweight Championship, to claim a world championship here in professional wrestling, just like this one. And he produces, and the only reason why I'm doing this is because of the fact that it just happened in game. He produces the ROH World Title, the first time in a long time that the ROH World Title has appeared on TNA Wrestling. He says that as the ROH World Champion, he wants to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion and be a double champion. So 59 rating for this. Originally, that wasn't going to be any part of the storyline, obviously, but just a few days before this Impact happened, he won the title at their pay-per-view. So I was like, well, that's kind of funny. Let's pretend it's champion versus champion. Even, obviously we can't put the ROH title on the line, but let's pretend that it's let's hype up the fact that it's champion versus champion here. So 59 rating for this. Loses heat for the storyline, but to be fair, they had a really hot start to it, storyline anyway. So, but Dinero kind of making it clear he wants to be a champ, a double champ, if you will. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Then after that, we get the match between Team Dixie members. And Magnus gets the victory in 8:30 by pinfall with a Tormentum over EC3. 69 rating for the match. Nice rating. Lack of psychology on display. Yeah, that's fine. Not a huge deal. But Magnus gets the victory here and gets himself 3 points in the Battle for Glory series. So he has to face his Team Dixie partner, and they actually have an actual match, because it's kind of a reveal by the commentators that Daredevil had told them beforehand that they had to have an actual matchup with each other, otherwise they both could be potentially disqualified from the Bound for Glory series completely. So they had to have an actual match with each other, and Magnus ends up getting the victory here over EC3. Then after that, we have Jimmy Jacobs and Colt Cabana going to some local bars trying to find beer money, but they do not find them. They cannot seem to find them at all anywhere. Ironically enough, it's because Beer Money are at the arena. They are taking on Red Dragon here up next. And in a matchup that goes 10-15, Bobby Roode gets the victory over Kyle O'Reilly with a payoff. So Beer Money pretending that they get it, whoever our ring announcer is at this point. We don't really have anybody on the roster that's technically a ring announcer, so they get the ring announcer to say that they are the tag team champions. So they get them to say that that still the tag team champions, Beer Money. 59 rating, kind of a little disappointing with that rating there. I don't know if it was lack of storyline because they didn't advance that storyline. Yeah, I should have advanced the storyline with that, but that's fine. But Bobby Roode and James Storm getting a victory over Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish here. Good back and forth match, but unfortunately for Red Dragon, Beer Money was just too much for them on this night. 59 rating as Beer Money celebrate with the tag team titles as if they're still theirs. Cabana and Jacobs, I gotta imagine, are not gonna be happy about the fact that they went out looking for Beer Money at the bars, thinking that that was where they were going to be all along, only for Beer Money to swerve them and show up at the arena for a match here tonight. Then after that, we get a little brief interview with Christy Hemme interviewing Zema Ion. Ion's just kind of hyping up the fact that that he's kind of trying to figure out where he's at here in TNA, and he's he knows he came up short at Destination X in that ladder match for the X Division champion, for the number one contendership for the X Division championship. But he's going to find out what he needs to do heading forward and make that happen. So 38 rating here to see, just a nice little interview for him here. Then after that, continuing on the Guns versus Wolves storyline, we have Alex Shelley defeating Eddie Edwards in 10:03 by submission with a Border City stretch. 57 from Shelley, 55 from Edwards, 65 rating for the match overall. Really good stuff there. Gains heat for the storyline. As, of course, at the pay-per-view, we had Chris Sabin defeat Davey Richards, and so now we have Alex Shelley defeat Eddie Edwards here tonight on Impact. So Guns are kind of 2-0 against the Wolves so far. So we'll have to see, granted, this is singles matches, and tag team wrestling is a different story, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. As Shelley and Sabin both with singles victories over both members of the Wolves so far in a 65 rated match here. Then after that, we have Kurt Angle walking around backstage when he approaches AJ Styles, the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He says, AJ, man, we go back a little ways. I've been here for a little while now, and we go back a little ways. We're friends, we're enemies. We've gone back and forth for a while now. Listen, I know that we haven't always gotten along, but I also know that you would have no problem shutting the mouth with Shelton Benjamin if the opportunity arose. And Styles is like, I'd love to, Kurt, but I got to focus on De Niro. I've got him in 2 weeks time, in like 10 days time or whatever it is. And Kurt's like, yeah, but I mean, it's Shelton Benjamin, not quite the same as D'Angelo De Niro, but he's a nice test to get yourself really into shape for a match against De Niro. And AJ goes, you know what, you're right. You're right. I've still got 10 days after this. I can, rest up, recover, make sure I'm fully ready for that title match at Hard Justice. You know what? Let's do it. Let's do it. I'll do it. So tonight in the main event, it is going to be AJ Styles versus Shelton Benjamin in a non-title matchup. Of course, these two had a match at Lockdown earlier this year in what was kind of AJ's really like return to the ring kind of thing for TNA. But there you go. So we're going to have a rematch from Lockdown earlier this year. It's going to be AJ Styles and Shelton Benjamin here tonight on Impact. 75 rating for the segment. Gained heat for both storylines. Good stuff there. Then after that, lack of psychology on display. ODB gets the victory over Gail Kim. So Gail losing a match again here in the Bound for Glory series. This time, she actually surprisingly loses by submission. Remember how I said it was Submission Central this week? ODB gets the victory over Gail Kim in 10-19 by submission. 50 from ODB, 56 from Gail Kim. It gains heat for the storyline between these two. 56 rating for the match. Good stuff there. So ODB with a victory over Gail Kim, and that kind of really helps her out in the Bound for Glory series. Kind of gets her closer to that top 4 where you want to be when everything is done, because obviously that's going to be kind of to determine who ends up winning the whole thing. But there you go. So ODB with a victory, and we'll see what happens from there. Then after that, Madison Rayne goes to the ring, and she's kind of promo. She says that last week, Shirley and Melissa showed up in Impact Wrestling again, or TNA Wrestling, that is. I keep saying Impact. She showed up in TNA Wrestling again, and she attacked me. I threw out the open challenge, expecting someone to be, honest, going face to face with me, but instead she decided to attack me, and I want to know why. Why would you have to attack me like that? Why couldn't you just confront me face to face and accept the open challenge right there? Shirley and Melissa comes out then and says, "You want to know why? You want to know why I wouldn't accept your challenge face to face? I am one of the greatest women. I'm one of the greatest wrestlers in this business today. I'm especially one of the greatest women's wrestlers in this business today. So many stars of right now trained by me. So many big names worked with me to better their craft. I am responsible for a lot of this knockouts division and this women's wrestling division in general. And yet, during my time in TNA, I got to do a very offensive stereotyped character and barely got to get any sort of acknowledgement as to my in-ring wrestling skills. And I didn't even get to be myself. I didn't get to be Cheerleader Melissa. I didn't get to be who I wanted to be. So why did I attack you? It's simple. Because I demand the respect that I deserve. From you, from the knockouts, from TNA itself, and even from all of professional wrestling. I have been ignored and disrespected for so long now that I will take your Knockouts Championship from you at Hard Justice, and I will get the respect that I deserve. So 53 rating for the segment here is Shirley Melissa making it clear that she wants the respect that she feels she deserves. And you know what? It's hard to argue that she doesn't have a point there. I mean, she brought us some valid points there. So, it's not necessarily that she has an issue with Madison Rayne. It's more that she has an issue with TNA and with the wrestling business in general. She just, it's just Madison Rayne is the target at this point. So 53 rating. We'll have to see where things go with that storyline heading forward. Then after that, we have a match between Chris Hero and Abyss. And surprisingly, with a fast roll-up, thanks to the distraction by Mr. Anderson, Chris Hero is actually able to defeat Abyss in 8:58 by pinfall. 61 rating for the match, 68 from Abyss, 51 from Chris Hero. Gained heat for the Death Wish storyline between Abyss and Mr. Anderson. Of course, this match was stemming from the attack a couple weeks ago that when Abyss laid out Anderson and then laid out Hero and Kingston at the same time. So Hero wanted some revenge and somehow was able to pull off a big victory over Abyss. 61 rated for the match here. As Chris Hero, getting a big upset here on Impact. However, afterwards, while Abyss and Mr. Anderson are brawling with each other, Eddie Kingston came sliding into the ring from behind. And as Chris Hero turns around, he gets hit with the back fist from Eddie Kingston as Kingston stands over him, standing tall. 55 rating for the segment here. Lost heat for the storyline between Hero and Kingston, but that's fine. I'm not too worried about that. So there you go, kind of continuing advancing two storylines in one segment here. As Abyss and Anderson are still brawling with each other, clearly issues between those two are not done yet, and Hero and Kingston have the next phase in their storyline with each other at this point. Then after that, final Bound for Glory series match of the night sees Samoa Joe get the victory over a former enemy slash friend of his, I guess, in Jay Lethal. This one being won 11-16 by pinfall to Muscle Buster. Samoa Joe with 73, Jay Lethal 55, 75 rating for the match itself. Great stuff there, as Samoa Joe gets himself 3 more points, keeping himself moving and on top of the standings in the Bound for Glory series. So good stuff there from him. We'll have to see where things go with that heading forward. Oops, I just realized I messed that up there. Okay. All right, and then after that, main event time. Great heat, good wrestling, or great wrestling, good heat. I can't talk apparently. Shelton Benjamin actually defeats the TNA World's Heavyweight Champion AJ Styles in 16:28 by pinfall with a pay dirt following interference from D'Angelo Dinero. 81 rating for the match. That might have just been our best match rating of all time. I think our previous was an 80, so we just broke our best match rating of all time. As Shelton Benjamin gets the victory thanks to interference from D'Angelo Dinero. 82 from AJ Styles, 66 from Shelton Benjamin. Gain heat for the Chosen One storyline going on with Dinero and Styles. Shelton Benjamin able to get a big victory here over the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Maybe that means that he gets a title shot in the near future. We'll have to see. After the match, 65 rating segment as AJ Styles gets beaten down by Shelton Benjamin and D'Angelo Dinero, and MVP comes out and he's joining in on the attack. Kurt Angle comes running out to try to make the save. He tries to fight off of them, but the numbers are just too much. And he ends up falling victim to the numbers game as well. And Impact ends with Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and D'Angelo Dinero standing tall above Kurt Angle and AJ Styles. What a statement here on Impact, to have two of the bigger stars in TNA's history laid out at the feet of Shelton Benjamin, MVP, and D'Angelo Dinero. 65 rating here. The show itself gets a 77. Let's go. Blowing our previous show rating out of the water. We are killing it. Ever since Kurt Angle came back, he is helping us kill it week after week now. Increasing popularity in 23 regions. Let's freaking go. Best show of all time so far in this series. Best match of all time so far in this series. Really great stuff indeed. So we're going to have to see where things get left off with that, as Kurt Angle's left laid out, or Kurt Angle and AJ Styles are left laid out at the end of Impact there. Over on Explosion, we had Jeff Hardy defeat Adam Cole in the main event. We had Mickie James defeat Serena Deeb. Christopher Daniels defeat Rhino to a 63 rating. And Santana Garrett actually finally gets a victory in the series as she defeats Angelina Love. Now, remember when I said it was Submission Central this week? Velvet Sky, ODB, both winning their matches by submission. Yeah, that Jeff Hardy Adam Cole match was also won by submission, and the Christopher Daniels and Rhino match was also won by submission. So we had 4 of our 9 matches this week end in submission after hardly having one ever. Somehow we had 4 of them end this week. So this was Submission Central this week for sure, and it definitely played out in the point standings, because it definitely changed some of the rankings for sure, which I will get up here on the screen really quick for you guys, for you all to see. As now, Samoa Joe still up top with 30 points. Magnus second place with 20. But Jeff Hardy, with that submission victory, gets himself up to 17 points. He's in third place all alone now. Adam Cole, Austin Aries, and Christopher Daniels, thanks to his submission victory, are all tied for 14 points apiece right now. EC3 with 11, Rhino with 9, and Eric Young and Jay Lethal still with 3 points apiece. On the women's side of things, Mickie James and Velvet Sky are actually tied for first place right now with 25 points each, thanks to thanks to the submission victory they had that Velvet had over Candice LeRae this week, which is kind of funny because both of them had submission victories over Candice LeRae. not great there. Gail Kim, 19 points still. Serena Deeb with 16 points still, but ODB getting that submission victory over Gail Kim got her 16 points as well, so now she's tied for 4th place, or technically tied for 3rd place. And then Evie/Candice LeRae with 6, Angelina Love with 5, and Santana Garrett finally getting points, getting on the board with 3 points. But of course, next week she's got to take on the leader, or at least the tied for the co-leader on this series in Mickie James. So unless she pulls off one hell of an upset, she probably will only end up with 3 points in the series. We'll have to see what ends up transpiring there. Comparison for the week, blowing them out of the water. NXT and Ring of Honor both only had a 55 rating. NXT had Nick Dinsmore and Yoshitatsu defeat Adam Rose and Corey Graves in the main event. Also, nothing really else there. And then Ring of Honor had Bully Ray and Scott Steiner defeat Matt Hardy and Josh Barnett to a 66 rating in their main event there. As we did not use Michael Bennett, so he was on their show, but we did use their world champion, so he was not on their show tonight. But there you go. Actually, I just realized that by us using him, that means that he's not going to be on their television shows for a month, because they do 4 tapings in one night. So they just did an entire month's worth of tapings without their world champion, thanks to us. You're welcome, TNA Wrestling. But that is going to do it for this episode. It is going to be interesting to see what happens from here. Okay. That's a thing. That is a thing. Mr. Anderson has been identified as a steroid user. Can we talk him out of it? Stop using steroids. No, he can't. Okay. Well, I mean, he's feuding with Abyss right now. I don't really have plans of getting rid of him at the time being, so we're just going to find him. And he's unhappy. Well, you know what? That sucks for you. Maybe you shouldn't be doing steroids. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. And we will catch you all next week for what will be the go-home episode of Impact there.